let's talk about him. So, for those of you that have seen my reaction, I have posted again. You should be following me on my socials, on the YouTubes, on the Instagrams, Twitters, and all that good stuff. I gave you guys my pre-reaction, right? And basically, in my pre-reaction, I told you guys going into this movie, I had a couple concerns, right? There were yellow flags and red flags. And we usually talk about that, right? If you follow this channel. One of the yellow flags was the advertisement of this movie being a Jordan Peele movie. And I was sitting there like, wait a minute. Jordan Peele is the producer. He's not the director. And it feels a little fishy, right? It's a little shaky when you advertise the producer before the director or the main actor, right? So to me, I was like, yellow flag. Just yellow flag on the play. Then my red flag was y'all had me screen this movie on a Wednesday and the movie came out on a Thursday. I've told y'all that's not usually a good sign of confidence from a studio because it's almost like, all right, hurry up and watch it. And then everybody else, y'all can watch it right now. So that way it kind of drowns out if a critic or press or media if they're critical about it, they hope that everybody just hurries up and sees it and nobody has time to read the reviews or watch the reviews in time. So it's a little sneaky, right? So I was like, red flag, right? Like, why y'all waiting until the last minute to give me this movie? That's a problem. Anywho, I did get a chance to see it. I told you guys my reaction while watching it. And my reaction absolutely was, I guess, a little all over the place in a sense, because I did not know how to process this movie. I didn't know what to make of this movie. It was a lot. It was a lot to process. It was a lot. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it still is. It still feels like a lot to process and a lot to take in. So I will do my best to describe certain things, to give you guys my thoughts on this film. And of course, I know it's still kind of new, so I will do my best to keep this spoiler free as well. But yes, I just want you guys to know that this ahead of time, it's a lot. It is a lot. So let's start off first and foremost with an introduction, just a quick intro on what this is all about. A young athlete descends into a world of terror when he's invited to train with a legendary champion whose charisma curdles into something much darker, right? All right. So first off, let's start off with what I thought was good in this film. And I think the very first thing that stands out is the acting. So one of the main actors, Tyriq Withers, I thought that this young man did a phenomenal job. A lot of times you will probably see and you'll be wanting to see Marlon Wayans. I know that. But I got to give this brother props. He did a phenomenal job just being in that presence and not seeming as though like he was being swallowed up by another star. Like he really held his own. He really did a good job, I think, in the film to make his presence felt throughout the film. And I really enjoyed what he brought to the table. I thought that he, had really good chemistry with Marlon Wayans. And I thought that he did a very good job taking us on this adventure, this wild ride, and really making us believe that he was this professional athlete that was going through this really wild, crazy experience. I think he did a really good job with that. But like I said before, you are probably interested in this movie because of Marlon Wayans. And I have to say, the brother did not disappoint. Marlon Wayans is absolutely fantastic in this role. Given what this movie is about, and given what is asked of his character to do and to be, he absolutely hits it out of the park. His presence is captivating. Every time he's on screen, you are intrigued. You want to know what's Marlon gonna do next. How crazy is Marlon Wayans' character? And there's no point, or there's very few points that he ever disappoints in this film. Like I'm sitting here watching him and I'm just like, man, this might be worth a nomination, because my man got into his bag. Like this was an excellent role for him to exercise his abilities, as eccentric as he can be, but at the same time, because obviously we know him for more comedic stuff, having him do a more serious, dramatic stuff was a really good contrast to see with him. So I really enjoyed his performance. I think he stood out obviously the most with this. He's not like the lead, but he's definitely a strong presence, and he's well worth the watch in itself. Next up, I have to say the cinematography in this film was phenomenal. It was really good. It was really creative. It was very artistic. You will get so many scenes that are just the colors, the schemes. They're so vibrant. They were so imaginative. I think one example that I really enjoyed was if you've ever played Mortal Kombat, for example, when you're fighting and they do like this, the X-ray scenes, that they do stuff similar to that in this film, and I thought it was amazing. It makes it incredibly difficult for you to take your eyes off of this film because of the cinematography and the visual effects. And all of that comes together so well that you cannot help but to watch. Like, you cannot help. And what I think it also did was it did a very good job in supporting the idea or the question, is this all a dream? Is this all real? Am I on drugs? Like, that the cinematography it takes you on that wild trip because of all the unique stuff that it does. And I also love how it plays around with the background. I love how it plays around with the scenery. I love how like they really make sure that certain camera angles have you questioning, hey, is something back there? Is something going on? Am I missing something? Like, you have to pay attention, and the camera is forcing you to do that. And I love that. I thought they did a great job with that. And then lastly, the themes in this film they come across perfectly well. The idea, of course, and you get this from the trailer, is it's about football. It's about sacrifice. It's about what does it take, right? What are the things that you're willing to do and to give up just to get to that certain level in that profession? And I thought that this film was very effective in getting that point across. They do take it to some extremes, especially with the visuals, but it only re-emphasizes things like the brutal nature of the sport and the physical, mental, and maybe even spiritual sacrifices that are needed. So I thought that they were able to stay on point with the themes and communicate that well throughout the entire film. All right, now for what I thought was bad in him. So it's kind of, I think the biggest problem with him is probably the writing, and it's probably going to be in the overall plot. The story itself, I think for the first two acts, you are going up this hill and you are trying to figure out what is actually happening. And you are seeing some things that seem legit, that seem for real, that seem logical, and that's fine. And then the movie goes into this interesting direction that it's hard, I think, for most people to, I wouldn't say appreciate it, but I don't think, honestly, people will like it. I mean, I didn't personally like how it ended, mainly because I thought that there was probably more creative alternatives that were already set up in the film. So let me be clear. I'm not saying, man, the movie should have done this, or I would have made the movie that way. No, I'm saying the way you kept leading us in this film, I thought that there was a different destination that we were building up to. And the detour that we did end up going towards, it just didn't work for me. And, I think that when the film decides to get literal and no longer metaphorical or no longer allegorical or whatever, and when you know that things are for real, that's when it stops being as captivating. The closest I can maybe describe this, and again, I'm trying not to spoil it for you. The closest I can give to you is like, imagine you're watching a horror movie, and when you're watching the horror movie, you only see bits and pieces of the ghost or the monster, and those bits and pieces are scary, right? You're seeing the shadow, you're seeing the figure, all of that. But then you get to the end of the movie, and they just turn the lights on and they show you the whole monster. Well, sorry, the monster is not as scary when your imagination is no longer running wild, when you are no longer asking questions. And I felt like that's what happened with him. They kind of just pull the whole curtain back and they kind of reveal everything to you. And the way that they did it, I was kind of like, it felt a little anticlimactic to me. It didn't feel like it justified the journey of the story from all this buildup. That was good buildup to get to that point. So that's really the only bad that I can put into it. But I mean, the story, let's be honest, you are also going for a story, right? Like that's a big part of this movie, or of any movie for that matter. So anyway, now let me kind of give you guys my overall reason and my take for this. You know, him is, I think, an unholy, unsanctified fever dream set on a football field that captures the plight of a professional football player, right? While it was wildly imaginative and artistically savvy, it still runs out of steam when it comes to the story and the basic conclusion. It simply couldn't stick the landing by trying to be a little too ambitious and maybe going off the cliff with its ending. So, you know, I've told you guys this before. There's different types of people out there. Some people are journey people, other people are destination folks. The journey folks, you appreciate the ride. Even if the ending sucks, you love the ride, and that's all you need. And there are people like myself who are like the destination. Listen, the journey might be bad, it might be a little rough, but if you end it very well, you get more points from me. So for me, I'm a destination person. The destination for this film did not work for me. And ultimately, it did not give me the best experience, but I can't discount all the other good stuff in the film. So when it comes to the rating for him, I've got to give it like a 6.5 out of 10. Look, whatever you saw from the trailer, that's what you need to think about going into this movie, because as I said before, it only cranks it up a notch beyond that. So whatever you were thinking about the trailer, whatever you thought they were going to give you, they're going to give you that, all right, but they're going to give you a whole lot more too. And if you were not looking for more of that, you might be disappointed. So I will not say that this is a must watch. And I will say that, like, if I had to give you a specific breakdown in this, like I said, acting was good, the themes were good, the cinematography were good, but like the plot, not so great. The watchability, again, I can't tell you to go watch this movie. That's going to be up to you and how you feel of the trailer. And yeah, it loses points on the plot, loses points on watchability, and it also loses points on rewatchability. I have zero desire to ever go back and rewatch this movie. Like, I don't need this in my mind again. So anyway, that's how I fell on my scale here. But anyway, for those of you that have seen him, you guys let me know, what did you think about the movie? Come on back to this video. Let me know in the comments down below.
Thank you so much for watching. This was just a segment of one of my live chats, and if you're interested in joining in on the next one, be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications for more. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.